Welcome back to another episode of the Challenge Insiders here on Reality Pop. We are back and we've got the lovely Chantel Francis here with us again this week. Chantel, I wish I had some hot sauce here with a plate for you to sign on and say, are you now with the Challenge Insiders here for the rest of the season?
I mean, I
You've got us on it.
And I actually have that hot sauce. I should have brought it out, and it's a full one. It's a brand new one. I have that nice sriracha that I do put on everything. So I do feel like if we'd signed something in sriracha, it should be truce. Absolutely. We're definitely together.
100%. I was impressed by Emmy's, signature that she did with that hot sauce. I couldn't, my signature looks bad enough if I do it on a normal piece of paper, and she did a really good job there with the hot sauce. Drew, welcome back to the show as well. Obviously, me and you had a great conversation about the previous episode and our previous recap, and we kind of called a lot of the things here that kind of played out with the first half of the episode. How was it for you watching everything unfold over the last week on this episode?
I felt like a wizard, like I was prophesying over the whole thing. I was like, I knew what all of this was going to happen. But then again, I remember that the challenge isn't very subtle, and they just kept on laying it on thick every single moment, being like, can you guess what's going to happen? I bet you can guess what's going to happen. Can you guess? I bet you can't. Okay, you did. You guessed it.
With the title being Uncle CT, you're like, okay, well, I definitely know what's going to be happening in this episode. 100%.
Love by You has to come in here and shock us with the first comment of the day saying, hello, all of you guys. I'm here to be Team Fessy. And then a bunch of side faces saying sorry in the live chat. And I guess we'll get into it right from the start. But before we do actually get into it, on Reality Pop, it's been really exciting. We recently hit our 1,000 subscribers, which is such a cool goal and achievement for all of us here working on Reality Pop. Because of that now, we've also, you would have noticed, started a membership here on Reality Pop. So that's now available right next to the subscribe button where you can join the membership. There's 2 tier levels. The first tier level, you get some specific emojis that you can use when you're chatting in there. You're going to get exit interviews for all of the interviews that we do. And just surprise, surprise, there will be some challenges that we've lined up to do interviews with after this season. But you will get exclusive, before everybody else see it, access to some of these interviews. If you do join the club, there's a bunch of whole other extra things that's going to happen. And you also start getting shout outs as well. We only started the memberships about a day ago, and we've already got our very first member who did a tier 2 membership. And I do just want to give them a shout out. So Barry Dean is our very first member of the Reality Pop channel. We say thank you for that. We really appreciate it. And we're going to continue to do really cool things. Now, at a tier 2 level, like what Barry Dean has, he's actually going to be able to sit in at least one exit interview at one point with a potential previous Survivor player or challenge player in the background as we are interviewing this person. And we'll get to meet them at the end of that and maybe ask that person a question or two directly as well at the end of it. So that's some of the extra sort of things that we're going to be doing here for people who do end up joining and becoming a member with us. But obviously there's no pressure. You can always watch us for free. You can always just subscribe. We appreciate you just being here. But those are for the people that do want to just support us that little bit extra and continue to help grow the channel. We do want to show some love and share some love with them as well as we grow this channel. So enough of the promotional stuff, straight into the episode here. We start off with kind of where we left off here, Drew. Fessy and Josh got into a massive fight, and Fessy open-handedly pushed Josh in the face. And you and me, Drew, we came on this podcast really high on Josh, both of us, last episode, saying, man, he's matured so much. He's really controlling his emotions. The guy's in it to win it this time. Throw all that out of the window. Josh is back. The Josh we all know and some people love is back, and he jumps on the couch and he just loses his mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think I lost it when he threw the glass when yelling at Amanda. I was like, that's way too far. You don't need to be breaking glass. Yeah, it went so far in the opposite direction. It was rather sad to see because it was a short-lived arc. It was a short-lived fandom here for the Josh team here, totally at least on my end.
Yeah, like I had the same thing. I was like, oh my God, do I actually like Josh this season? Am I like, what is happening here? And then he's like, no. You gotta hate me. Of course you gotta hate me. And I'm gonna do something completely ridiculous. And I thought that he was going to be also kicked off the show because like he was a big part of that fight, and there was like violent elements to his participation that was amping up that energy. And I don't think that the chin grab from Fessy was as bad as breaking the glass. And I did hear that Fessy did get like cut on his chin, I believe, from like the glass with Josh or something like that. So I don't know. I was surprised that they didn't both get to be kicked off.
For me personally, I was not surprised Josh wasn't kicked off, and I still haven't completely soured on Josh this season. Like, I understand, like, for me, this is just on brand. This is Josh on brand. He's gonna lose his head. He's gonna shout at everyone, and I mean, Amanda tries to help him there at one point, saying, "Hey, focus on the people who actually started this whole thing." He completely ignores her and even tries to make an enemy out of Amanda here, saying it's his real life friends. But how I knew that Josh probably wasn't going to get kicked off the show, I kind of mentioned it to Drew last episode as well. But if you think back about a season ago when he pushed and shoved Devin into that couch in the previous season, there was so much more intent and force behind that push than anything that happened here. So for me, in that sense, I get it with the breaking of the glass, people can get hurt and things like that. That probably was probably borderline, but I did find it really funny here, guys, that the person that sort of scolds them about it and says, "Hey, you can't do physical violence and all that," was Nelson. After we all know Nelson's been kicked off the show before for doing something very similar, but he's taking the high road in this season.
Well, he definitely knows like what could happen when you do stupid things like this, so he's kind of speaking from experience here and being like, it's not a good move, I know. So I understood why he was saying it.
Yeah, the one thing that got me was in the Aftermath show, they were talking a lot, and Amanda was like really pushing this narrative that they were like, she was like, "Oh, well, I didn't know Fessy was going to get taken out of the game. I didn't think that he was going to get taken out. If anything, I thought Josh was going to get taken out of the game." And I'm sure she's referencing the glass being chucked or broken and hitting him, but it's like, why would you think that? Like, why would you? I just don't understand why you would think that Fessy wouldn't get let go for doing something like that. Yes, people are calling it soft. People are calling it a weak for sending him over that. But that's the precedence that the challenge has set since Dirty 30, and they're going to keep it that way. So I just didn't understand that whole like dying on that petty hill, because it's just not. That's living in denial.
Well, and also though, like if you go back to the duel, that terrible punch that Tina gave to Beth, like it didn't really even connect, but she was still kicked off the show. So, I mean, I think it's like maybe that action, it's showing violence, it's showing intent to potentially hurt. The push, maybe the push is not allowed just because it's like not as violent, I guess. Like I don't know why the push isn't going to be something that gets you kicked off, but like a chin grab is, or like a punch is. I think it should be in the same ballpark. Area. But face area, maybe. That makes sense.
Is Josh maybe a production favorite and they just don't want to remove him if they don't have to, and there's a slightly different set of rules there for him? It does seem like production really, really loves Josh and what he brings to the table. He's been around for a few seasons now. I don't know, I'm sort of spitballing here. But one of the other things that I found really, really interesting was through all of this chaos, Amber is moved to the side. She's in tears. You've got Ed around her there. You've got Priscilla, who Priscilla continues to be the narrator throughout this whole episode, saying a bunch of nothings, but just sort of letting the audience in on what's happening throughout it. So I still think Priscilla's edit for me this season is very interesting, but I don't want to repeat what I said every single episode. I think she's going deep. I think there's a reason they're showing us her as often as they do, even though she's not really directly involved in what's going on at the moment. But the more interesting part for me here is Amber being in tears, having Ed there, having Priscilla there sort of comforting her, and then Berna really, really just does not like Amber, and there's a continued story that's being told here. And for me, I understand it. Like, I mean, me and Drew came up here passionately last week and we were like, we just don't get the Amber hate. Like, Amber is maybe she is just too much of a normal person. She's already achieved a lot. A lot of people are jealous. But I do think I'm starting to see a trend here now of people saying that she comes across as a victim. She wants the attention of people sort of comforting her after events and things like that. And that is annoying some of the other girls that don't like the attention that she is getting from these types of situations. Do we think, Chantal, that is where the animosity is coming from? Because there is vets and rookies that feel this way towards Amber now. It's not just one-sided.
I mean, I'm trying to figure it out. I personally, like, I'm not really with you guys. When I was listening, I was like, yeah, I find Amber to be really annoying. And I'm done with her. It's like, for me, like, I get it. Like, if she's pissed off with a guy, like, he lied to her, even though she was like, on this side, she wasn't planning on coming for him. He lied, didn't tell her that she's going down. Yeah, I'd be pissed for sure. Like, I wouldn't be letting them off the hook. But what more do you want from it, Amber? Like, what are you going to do about it? Like, he's an asshole. Okay, like, we just have to, like, let it go. The fact that she keeps on trying to get something from him that she's never going to get from him, because he's not that type of person that's going to give her whatever she appears to need. And so I think the fact that she just doesn't let it go is what is annoying for me anyways. With the women in the house, it could be because she was a rookie. She went in and she kind of had a perfect storm of everything aligning for her to get to the end and is able to win. Like, she is physically capable of winning, but strategically she's not really physically capable of getting to the end. And so she really got I think, lucky with how things ended up, with her being able to get that hall brawl against somebody that's tiny, Big T, and is able to take a partner like CT at the 9th, 11th hour and go to the end and win. And so I think that they might be a little bit jealous of that, about the fact that she has won $500,000. But I think that, she doesn't necessarily recognize her faults in some of these situations. Like, she definitely, did wrong to the other rookies her first season. She wasn't, like, the best ally to them. And she's pretending like, she was, and she wasn't. She didn't really stand up for the rookies there. And so I think that they just kind of feel like she's fake, in the sense it's like she's not taking any responsibility for her own part in any wrongdoings that she's ever done, and they just don't like her.
It's just weird that it's everybody, mainly the women, that are getting confessionals. It's not like any of the other guys. It's not like they're coming on rolling their eyes at her or talking bad about her. It's mainly the women, and it's just odd that it's everybody. It's not like they just can't let it go to the fact of, like, I don't like this person. Like, I'm sure Tori doesn't like Big T for what happened last season, but we don't see her every single episode talking about Big T. Like, Big T just walked into the room and I hate her. I can't stand this woman coming into the room when I'm trying to exist here. I mean, everybody just seems to, like, whenever Amber's just walking around, they're just like, I mean, Berna and Esther are sitting in the back of the club just talking about her. Like, there's nothing else going on. Like, they don't have any other conversations to talk about. They're just staring at her from across the room going like, oh my gosh, she's dancing. I can't believe this. She's so fake, dancing to this non-song that's on because we can't have songs while we're talking because of the mics. Like, ugh. It's like, come on. All right, we got enough of this. Like, unless you're going to really delve into more of why everybody dislikes her, I don't want to hear about it 15 times an episode.
Absolutely, 100%. And so, like, I think that it must have a certain, like, she must be bringing it up more times than they're actually showing us, like, because that's the only thing that really makes sense as to why they could be so put off. These new people that have only met her in this scenario, who I doubt watched even last season. So I will bet she must be bringing it up, and that's the only thing that she maybe is connecting with people about, or is trying to get people on her side about, or wants people to get sympathy from. Like, she must be bringing it up more than they're showing us for them to be so annoyed with her by it. But, like, they're putting it up enough for me to be annoyed by it. So, like, if it's any more than that, like, I get it. I was also kind of paralleling it to Cara Maria, because there's a certain similarity with Cara Maria. She's super athletic. She's good at the challenge. But in the beginning, she was pretty much bullied and people not liking her. And, like, it was hard to understand, like, what she was doing. And I feel like they have a similar something. I haven't put my finger exactly on it yet, but there's some parallels I find between the two of them.
So, Sam, so you bring up another champ there in Cara Maria, but, do you guys think there is a gender bias with female champs like Ashley and Amber and Cara Maria, for instance? I think that there is a championship bias for anyone that has gone out there and have won the show before. They will have some form of a target on them. Last season, it was a lot of champions being targeted quite early on because they've won the show before. It's actually quite funny that CT ended up getting to the end, which we'll definitely get into CT because I've got a lot to unpack on CT this episode. I don't know if we've got the time here, but we'll definitely put the time aside to talk about what happened with CT. But I don't want to move away from Berna as of yet because I agree with Rodrigo here. Yeah. Berna needs to calm the hell down because to me, I hear what you're saying in regards to Amber. And I love the fact that we're all fans. We all have different opinions about who we like, who we don't like, who we gravitate towards, who we don't gravitate towards. And that is okay. It is okay to have different opinions. I know it's shocking in today's day and age because everybody believes we need to all think the same way. No, like I understand it. And it's really cool that everybody gravitate towards different people. I think that with Amber, yes, she didn't stay loyal to the rookies that season, but I think her whole thing this season was, I stayed loyal to the Big Brother Alliance and they backstabbed me. She didn't come in here saying, hey, I stayed loyal to the rookies. I wanted to work with the rookies till the end. It was more about like how she feels hurt and betrayed is the fact that Fessy is the one who did this to her. Fessy was the one who chatted behind her back the previous time as well in the previous season. And she felt hurt by that because she did try and look out for them as long as she could within that season until they backstabbed her. I think one of the things she does struggle with is letting go. Everybody in this game, you need to be able to let things go because everybody has been betrayed by someone. You know, I mean, you've got people like CT and Kyle working together again this season when they had to like go at each other and betray each other in the previous season. That is the sign of a good veteran challenge person. You understand that you're going to get betrayed. I mean, you need to move on. If you can get Wes and Bananas to work together after years and years of betrayal, that is a great example of putting things aside and making sure that your game is in the front end here. But I guess with the Fessy thing, that was quite fresh. It just happened. I kind of said to Drew, she kind of helped that in, probably didn't confront him at the right time. And then just as this happened with the pizza, that became the catalyst for everything. But I do want to move on from Amber because I do agree we probably hear too much of this. I want to talk about Berna because Berna, to me, this episode, I am starting to get lower and lower on her. She to me, and I don't know if I'm the only one that sort of feels this way, she comes across as that really catty female that just looks at others, and you know, she's also got a chip on her shoulder at this point, you know, talking about the fact that how dare Emmy, you know, steal CT from her. Emmy promised her she wouldn't do that. She told Emmy that she's not an alien, you're okay, you're in with me, I understand you, kind of thing. But I'm starting to feel like Berna, her thing is to talk bad about other people consistently within the show. And I don't know what she's brought to the table as of yet. I'm really 50-50 on her at the moment. But that look she gave Emmy at the end of looks good kill, you know, that was the look when Emmy took CT away from her.
I have to say that I think that Berna is a lot more like Amber than she would probably want to say out loud. Because I mean, I'm just like, I'm holding back saying that fully with my full chest yet. But I want to see how she reacts moving forward from this seeming betrayal that Emmy has had right now. Because the amount of anger that she's seemed to be having at the end, that look that she gave, that she's not going to rest until she takes down Emmy, all that stuff. Like, is she going to be talking about it to every single person? Talk about how, like, I'm a good person. Like, why would she do that to me? I would never do that to her. Like, kind of the same narrative that Amber has been playing over and over again. So I'm just wondering if she's going to become a little bit more like Amber for the fact that she's been burned now. And then maybe why she's so irritated by Amber is that because all those, like the way that she's acting is very close to her. So that's my thought about Berna.
I was taken back by Berna saying how hurt she was about Emmy taking CT away from her, because not long into when Emmy was sent into the elimination and Mr. TJ asked her about something and she goes on this big speech about her grandmother, we see Berna like giving her a huge eye roll during that speech. And then I loved Emmy's like clap back to her when Berna was going off and she's like, well, who are you rooting for? Oh, that's right. I don't know you nothing. Like, let's go. It was awesome. But yeah, I was shocked by Berna because she didn't even like, going back to the room talk when she was like, hey, don't pick Uncle CT or something. She said, I hope you don't pick Uncle CT. And the extent of the conversation was Emmy saying, no, never, we're friends, they hug, and then they leave. It was like a 3-minute conversation. There was nothing passed back and forth. There's no promise. So, I mean, Emmy's doing the best for her game. And Berna, you saw what happened to Michaela in episode 1 when she tried to help Emmy and Emmy threw her under the bus. What do you expect, kind of thing? So I'm just tired of people calling everybody fake for just doing stuff in the game. Like, people can instigate. People don't need to apologize to instigate about pizza, and people don't need to apologize for taking partners that they really want to be partnered up with.
So Love by You here says that I like Berna. She's actually very supportive on social media. She believes that, sorry, that it's an edit. And also here, Lily, hello from Holland. Hi, Lily. Welcome to the stream. She says that she also likes Berna, and she thinks that Berna is just very competitive. And listen, I've liked Berna up until this point. I like strong women that come on here that want to compete. Yui at the end saying, hey, Berna is actually one of the strongest females out here. We could potentially go out and win the next daily. I would love nothing more than Yui and Berna to go out there and win the next daily, because if they won the next daily, who's going to go in? I mean, mind blowing. Like, can she, if she thinks CT betrayed her here? Like, I mean, CT's played the perfect game up until this point. He always does. He knows how to be mid-pack. He knows how to be low-key until when it matters. And I've got a theory around that, but, you know, he kind of betrayed her a little bit here by going to Emmy, and Berna doesn't seem to be a fool. You know, she seems to be onto the fact that something happened here, and I don't think that Emmy is going to be the greatest person to keep secrets in the house as well. I'm very confident that somewhere down the line, Berna's going to find out that CT was in on this plan, and he knew that Emmy was going to come and take her. But I really want to talk about CT here in this position, because CT is seen talking to Tori, and he has a conversation where he says that Berna is doing the most at the moment. She is trying to make some big moves. I've got a feeling that Berna has been talking to CT about taking out veterans, and CT feels uncomfortable about the veterans that she's trying to target because he wants to work with those people, or he doesn't want to put a target on his back this early. Probably CT is thinking, I don't need to win a lot of dailies now that it's getting close to the vets having to take each other out. And it seems like strategically, they're not aligned, and that is the reason that he's trying to move away, because CT plays that under the cover mid-pack game most seasons when he plays, because he has to. If he makes too big of a fuzz, he gets taken out here in an early spot. What do you guys think is the main reason here for these two people that should be, in all reality, they should be a strong pair working together here? Why do you think things are going wrong for them at this point?
Well, I think it's really clear in the episode when she goes up to Casey and starts talking about Amber, about wanting to throw Amber in. And I don't think that she really talked to CT about making that decision. And so I think she's been doing things on her own without consulting CT, without him really being able to be like, no, I don't think that's good for our game. I don't think that's good for, you know, your game. Like, she's not consulting him. And I think that that's what he doesn't like about this partnership. He seems to like partners that will listen to everything that he says. He loves Big T because Big T listened to him, like they won it together. Like she practiced with him. Like she listened to his tutelage. So he was able to work with her. And I think Berna just does her own thing and is not considering their partnership. And so I don't think that he can work with that.
I want to be upfront and say that I still like Berna. I do think it is the edit. Just how we have had many years of Josh, or many seasons of Josh, and then all of a sudden the edit was turning him into a hero, and then we were like, oh my gosh, and all of a sudden he went right back to it, and we're like, oh no. I do like Berna. I do think it's an edit. I have had the chance to have interviewed and spoken to Berna before, and so she's super nice. I love her and her personality so much. So I do believe it is the edit, but just like we were talking about Amber, there's things that you need to let go and kind of just like dismiss and maybe keep it in the back of your mind for later on when you need to use some information or something to that. But I also think that there is a point where maybe they're not gelling or not connecting as much as they could be in the game. Like maybe Emmy has found her way into CT's room, hanging out with Devin, hanging out with Kyle, hanging out with Tori. And now we got to that point where, okay, let's get into an alliance together. It seems she's mainly hanging out with Nelson, a lot of hanging out with Nelson and his group of friends are on the other side of the house. And when talking to Berna, she did talk about how she wasn't like, she never really talked to Devin. And we know from what happened last season, Devin and CT were like this, and they were working very closely with each other. So if you're not talking to your partner's friends or hanging out enough, maybe they're not feeling the bond or connection as well as they're progressing through the game. And yeah, and I agree, Emmy's just gonna eat anything up that CT says. So he's just like, yeah, cool. She's malleable. She's flexible. She'll listen to everything. And I think she can like really keep her head down if I tell her to like lay low, don't do anything kind of thing.
Yeah, love by you. Stop being in my head. You know, I agree with everything that you're saying in the chat here. But, you know, I think, you know, I'm hoping that, you know, you've spoken to Berna. She's not giving me and Chantal that same death stare that she gave Emmy at the end when we dared to criticize her.
I don't even hate her. I just think that she's like pretty similar to Amber.
Don't come for us.
I'm just like, hey, man, I don't know. It might be the pot calling the kettle black here.
I will say that did Berna talk to Esther about wanting to throw Amber in against her? Like, I would not. I would not want to go up against Amber in any kind of situation. I mean, she's 3-0 in eliminations. You're Esther going into your first ever elimination. You don't know what it could be. I don't know if she talked to Esther and Esther's like, yeah, I want to go up against Amber. It's like, I'm sure you would want your friend to take out who she's been beefing with, but I would not be, I'd be like, throw in Bettina, throw in somebody that my friend can come back and win against, not throw in Amber. Yeah, go ahead, do that.
And say what you want to say about Amber having beaten people that are not at her level in the previous seasons when she went down there. Once again, I'm just going to put it out there. She has played rugby. She understands the technique of going into contact. Yes, she wasn't challenged that much in that season. I would still put my money on a champion. I would still put my money on someone that's got experience going into this whole brawl, that have done it before. I think as soon as the what do they call them? The agency saw that it was a whole brawl coming into this lair, they immediately knew, because I mean, Casey had for a little bit there, they had this, I guess, back and forth deliberation between herself and Emmanuel in regards to who was going to be the person that's going to go down there and face Esther. And it sounded like Casey still wanted to put Amber down there, and she was in agreement with Berna when she had that conversation. It sounded like it was a real possibility. But I think that as soon as they saw that it's a whole brawl, they were like, there's just no way we're putting Amber in there. Amber's coming back. I would have backed her to come back there as well. This whole brawl, though, was quite different compared to some of the whole brawls we've seen in the past. They always try and innovate and bring something new into the challenges, the arena or the lair, whatever they do down there. They always try and innovate it a little bit. Did you guys, were you high on the modification that they did to this whole brawl, or not so much? For me personally, I felt like it fell flat, and I don't know if it's because of the two girls that were in there. Yes, it was a bit of a battle, but I kind of felt like it was lopsided. Emmy was always going to go when going in there. I felt like it played into her strengths, but also I just didn't like the whole Bell being inside of the actual whole brawl and they had to climb up the net. I feel like it makes for better viewing when they have to run out of it and hit the bell at the end of it. For me, that is just more exciting and fun to watch in general. How did you guys feel about this?
Yeah, I'm the same. I was just kind of like, oh, so they just kind of had to like drag themselves to the end and just like jump up. Like it didn't seem as you know, oh my God, who's going to get it, when they're super close and they're running and they end up diving for it and they miss it. Like I think we saw, maybe it was Zach did that once where he like missed it when he dived, or I can't remember exactly, but it just would have been more interesting even if they had to climb, still at the end, like run all the way through and climb a little bit of a fence and ring the bell. Like I think it would have been better and then having it within the actual hall.
They lost me when they had ropes on the ground. Like, what was that? I didn't understand. There was just ropes on the ground, I guess, to trip you up if you ran too hard. Okay, so this, when I recorded it to replay it on my review and recap, this elimination minus all the commercials was 4 minutes. It took 4 minutes. That was it. That was all that we had. They were cutting back and forth, meaning I think that this was super quick on both rounds. The most exciting thing for me to watch is watching the GoPros when the women hit each other fly off their helmets twice. It made me laugh thinking that in between round 1 and round 2, they had to like super glue them back on and they had to take a long time, and then they put them back on and then they instantly fell off again. Like it was really bad.
And another thing for me that's always funny watching these hall brawls, they always start them off with the visors, the motorbike helmets, and then by the second round, the visors are always ripped off because it steams up so much inside that they can't actually see what they're doing when they're out there in the whole brawl. So just remove it next time, guys. Like you see the same thing happening every single season, remove it from the start. I guess it's there to protect your eyes so you don't get a finger in the eyes or something like that, but it doesn't seem to work that well. But sadly, you know, this would have been the perfect opportunity to see a couple of really, really big competitors go down there and go in a whole brawl against each other. But I don't feel like these two people were at that level. But I do want to put a little bit of respect on Emmy's name, though, in saying that I kind of have to correct myself, even in my train of thought as I'm going through it. She's now won, what, 3 eliminations down there? So she's 2? It's 2. Okay. So she's starting to get that momentum. She's starting to get used to going down there. She is a battler. Her coming out there shouting, I did it for Romania, I did it for my dad, and all of that. She gives me real Spartan, badass, gladiator vibes at the moment when she's going down there, and she's got a lot of heart. I do agree with what a few people have been saying in the live chat in regards to why CT is taking Emmy instead of Berna. I think Berna is a strong individual thinker and has a mind of her own in regards to how she wants the game to play out, where I do think Emmy does come across like Berna says at the end. She's probably being manipulated by some people here to do this and take. I don't think she is. I think it makes 100% sense for her to take CT. She's got a good relationship with CT. Why not group up with a champion, someone that's done it so many times and that you've got a good relationship with? But I do agree in the sense that she probably is more likely to be manipulated by someone like a CT, because CT's got that Uncle CT aura around him that Emmy just loves, and I think she would do anything for him. I think it's an easier partnership for CT to get what he wants moving forward. And we've said this here before, CT does not work well with people that are as strong headed as himself. Like, you know, if you look at Killer Cam and CT and that partnership in the previous season, it was a great example of two very capable people that were butting heads when it came to certain parts in the game, and it just didn't gel well. CT, I feel like he needs to be the driver in the partnership that he's in, and maybe he felt like he just wasn't the driver in that partnership. But exciting, for, I guess, elimination in the sense that Emmy comes away from this winning once again. How are you guys feeling about Emmy? Emmy, in my opinion, I am warming up to her more and more as the show continues on. I feel like I understand her better now. I understand there's still some tendencies that is a little bit childlike in some cases, but I feel like I've got a better grasp of who she is. Like, there was a couple of episodes ago where I wasn't as high on her.
I mean, I think that she had a really great episode. I think the fact that she calls him Uncle CT, that he's accepting of this, he loves her, and like he wants to have her be his partner. And like, I think that is really great for her, because like, I didn't understand in the first aftermath, why are they so high on Emmy? Like, she's so annoying. Like, I just didn't get it. But I think that she ends up staying for a while, and she has this big redemption. You know, she came to as someone as kind of annoying, and then she's had like a little bit in the beginning of her arc with her singing her song, and she was the alien, and they were all super supportive of this song of hers. And then she goes down, and she really like, she was so passionate with her win when she's like screaming, and like I was waiting for that scene because we saw it in like the previews for 4th season. And I did this for Romania, and I'm like, oh my god, she did! Like, I'm with her on that journey. I was totally like, I hear you, Emmy, and like I was smiling. And now I've gone over that hump where everything she does is entertaining for me. Everything she does, I'm endeared by. And so I think that it's a great arc for her. I think she's going to be lasting with CT for a pretty long while. I know when we get near the end, most people are going to try to take CT to the end, and so she probably will lose him. But I think that she's going to stick around a little bit, and I'm happy that she's going to.
Christina, welcome to the live stream. I don't know if you've been in the live stream before. We love seeing new people pop up here. Christina says that if it was a math puzzle, then you would have put Amber against Esther. I do agree. I think that Esther, and love by you saying, let's pull one out for our African queen. For those that are new to the stream, I'm from South Africa, so I had 2 horses in the race being from Africa, and both of them are sadly out of the game now. And I've loved seeing Esther this season, but I do feel like this challenge just didn't play into Esther's sort of strengths. You know, she seems like she's quite stocky and she would do pretty well in this, but I feel like Esther is more of an academic. She's more of a smart player. She does seem pretty well rounded. She had a good season here where she did win a couple of dailies with Fessy. I do feel like Emmanuel saying that she was carried by Fessy and that Fessy was the one that really he put on her back and he won these challenges. And maybe the edit makes you believe that in some ways a little bit as well. I don't feel that that is true. I feel like she was a very strong partner there, and there were certain points where she needed to figure out the puzzle components where Fessy was hanging in the air and she had to run and go do the puzzle parts of it. I think that she had a really strong season here. I think the one thing, and sadly, I'm hearing that she is getting bullied a lot on Instagram. She's actually deactivated her Instagram at this point, which is sad to hear. Loved by you saying that. So, or she deleted her. I'm hoping it's just deactivated because she had a big following in there. She probably just wanted to get off social media for a little bit. I feel like that's sad, and I do think that it comes down to people not liking Fessy, not liking the fact that she stood up for Fessy as strong as she did. But like I said here last time, like I saw this culturally growing up in South Africa that African women really stand by their men. And I think that it's a cultural thing where she went on there. Fessy gave her good vibes. Fessy was a great partner to her. She didn't know the past relationship. She's not a fan of the challenge that much. So I don't think she would have seen she wouldn't even have known what the hate is around Fessy. And I feel like she's getting a lot of this backlash, and potentially also the way she dealt with the Amber situation, I don't think was great. It wasn't a great look on her either. But overall, I do hope she gets an opportunity to come back if she wants to come back. And get to play the game again. I think it could make for some interesting TV, but I just felt like she was unlucky here. She got the wrong elimination to go down, and Brawl wasn't going to be her thing.
Yeah, I watched your video, Drew, where you're talking about how the season has been, the ratings have been going down, and I think that you had a really good point with the fact that we're not bringing back, these new challenges that we're trying to get to know for next season. So I really would love for them to bring her back. She was on 6 episodes. Yes, she didn't make it. She only made it a third of the way through, but I do think she was impactful. I mean, I don't like the fact that she threw the drink in the face, but she was part of the drama. She was winning stuff. She was doing it for Africa. Like, she had a lot of things of storylines that we can get behind again if we gave her another chance. So I'm hoping that they'll watch your video, Drew, and they'll be like, you know what? He's right. We're going to bring back some of these rookies from this season and bring them back next season so we can start liking them and the ratings can go up.
And really, this is something that's it's unfortunate because you can't see into the future, because if Fessy doesn't push Josh in the face and get disqualified, she's staying there for a while. Like, her and Fessy are winning. Her and Fessy make a great duo. They probably weren't going to be sent into the elimination. If anything, Esther may have made it far into the season and then been thrown in. I just don't. It's just a blink of an eye, a mistake made by her partner, left her alone. And then because she was alone, they knew it was going to be a women's elimination, and they just had to jump on it because it was like, well, if she wants to be and you could just tell the look of defeat on her face in deliberation, where she was just like, I didn't want to go into elimination. I didn't think that this was a possibility. And I don't mean like defeat, like she wasn't going to go in there and try, but you could just tell, like, she was like, I have to go in. Like, I have to, because if I don't go in, I'm going to be partnered up with another rookie, and there's just no way. Like, then I'm going to be the house vote next week, and I'm just delaying the inevitable. So it's kind of like, it's being reluctant to the, like, just a bad hand, a bad thing to be dealt to.
Fessy's a bad hand, I know. He's the worst.
I think we'll all agree with Rodrigo here in the live saying that rivals fall, please. I feel like we've had so many rivalries over the last 4, 5, 6 seasons even, that you could easily fill up a cast, and enough people would be interested to come back and watch that, because you'll actually have returning players coming back. I agree with Drew. Drew said it a few times here on the podcast that we just don't invest in people. I mean, to me, it's an absolute slap in the face of these players when you don't bring champions back in the first place. I know I sound like a broken record, but, Jenny West winning, not coming back, Amber not being a shoe-in for this season, and then other new players now coming in that just don't get that time to come back. And it also makes it harder for some of these other new players like Big T coming in, not being in the US, not getting other UK newbies, fresh meat coming back with her, people that she can build an alliance with and work with in the game. So overall, agree with you guys on that. I think that it does have an effect. And I am still very interested, Chantel, to know how many people actually watch the show not live, because we've got international audiences now that are watching it. I mean, we've got someone here from Holland in the live stream today that are watching us right now. So we've got people from all around the world. It's become an international show, not just the US show anymore. are we putting too much emphasis on the ratings at the live and when it's playing? And should we look at the downloads or the views afterwards when it's not showing live, for instance? Because clearly the show must still be making some money to be around. Drew, you go. You're the one who did the research, I guess, into this.
Well, the worry is that everything starts with ratings, because when it's live, that's when the advertisements are there, and that's where the sponsorships are there. So people who don't watch it live and will watch it a couple of days later, I think that's fine. I've done that before for many shows, and it's totally okay. But when you have people watching it a couple of days later, they're going to start going through all the commercials. They'll watch it somewhere else that doesn't show commercials. If anything, put it on Paramount Plus so you can stream it the next day. So people who want to have that subscription have that ability to, because you do it with Survivor, you do it for Big Brother. Why don't you do it for the challenge? It makes no sense whatsoever, but it's those advertisements, and that's what's going to make the money, to make them have explosions and all these helicopters and all this other stuff. Because if they don't get the money, then that's not what they're going to do. And maybe people are saying they don't want that as much. So, but also in that same breath, when you're not watching it on a consistent basis or appointment basis, there's times where people just forget, and then 5 months go by, then they're just like, I'll just watch it whenever like the rest of the season is done. And then you get into that like avalanche or a snowball effect of like, oh, well, I'm just not going to watch it. I'll get to it when I get to it. And that's where the whole like not being able to grip the audience comes in. And if they miss this season, what does that mean for the next season? Oh, I didn't even finish Spies, Lies, and Allies. I can't even say the name fully. Like, I don't even want to get into the next season. So yeah, I think it's a slippery slope is what I'm trying to get at, because I like anomalies. But yeah, I don't know. I think they're overcomplicating it for themselves. But I think that's the main problem. Money talks, and it's baseline money, and also ratings. Seeing those Nielsen ratings have been like the thing for everybody for tons of years since TV was invented.
No, absolutely. And one thing that I've learned with like covering the challenge is that, a lot of people from the UK, they don't actually get to watch it on air until Monday. So it airs on Wednesday and it airs in the UK on Monday. So that's like, they can't even be part of the conversation yet unless they want to be spoiled until it's already not really part of the conversation anymore. So, they're not going to be live with us talking about the episode and getting some buzz around it and looking on Instagram and seeing the lives that are going on, because it's like, oh, I don't want to get spoiled yet. Let me wait till Monday until I watch the episode. So I don't know what it's like in other countries of the other, contestants on the show, but I'm sure it's going to be at least similar, that they're not getting it the next day, or unless they're finding it on a streaming service that is not going to be making any money for the network. So I 100% agree that, like, why can't you put it on a site that's available worldwide if you're going to have worldwide contestants? Like, it just doesn't make
add into
any sense to me. Go ahead.
I need to jump in. That's the only international person. Well, I guess you're international as well, Chantel, but it shows in Canada, right? So it's in Canada and in the US. As someone that's situated in New Zealand watching the show, I can watch the show within 1 to 2 hours after it showed live by using a VPN and jumping onto the mtv.canada website, and also seeing the ads. So I'm supporting the show in a legal way, where I still see the ads. I still contribute to the revenue for the show. So, ExpressVPN or NordVPN, if any of you guys are listening to this or hearing this, or tweet at them, we should probably tweet at them. Just sponsor this podcast. We'll happily continue to tell people how to do this.
If somebody wants to watch the US live feeds, like you would be watching commercials and stuff like that, so it'd be all like the television streams. I would do have the East Coast version of pretty much every US network, so I do have that. If I want to, I can share that with other people, and they do have options to pay for stuff. So I think that it's a paid thing in the end, but like CBS is free, MTV is free, NBC, all the regular ones are free. It's kind of like HBO, you'd have to pay additional money. And so I think that they must have some sort of agreement, because it's not shut down. And so that is something that I could help. If anybody, finds me on Instagram, I can share that link with them.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we want to support the show and have it there for many years. So I think any way you can watch it legally does help. And yeah, it's interesting. I think that times has changed quite a lot where a lot of people just don't consume things live anymore and they watch it at their own time. They might have more than one show that they want to watch at the same time, or work's keeping them busy. Like, our way of consuming media has changed, since the online streaming services came on board. And I think it has reflected into ratings for a lot of shows. And I'm hoping that that is one of the reasons that the live ratings aren't as high and that it's still pretty solid. There must be a reason that they're consistently grabbing international players and bringing them back, because if it didn't work for them the first couple of times they did it, I'm sure they would have stopped it by now, but they're continuing to do that. I don't know what the next season would be like, but I do agree we need to see players come back consistently for us to find our next favorites that we can watch their arc and see them grow and sort of stay with them for a while. And I feel like some of the players that they've consistently brought back, which we've given them too much attention on this podcast already, I'm not going to go back into it, but they just bring back some of the people that I feel like people just don't gravitate towards and don't enjoy to begin with. So not a good choice in that regard. But I do want to go into, we lose Fessy here. He's taken out of the game, talking about one of those people that a lot of people don't like or like to dislike. Who's the biggest winner with Fessy being taken out of the game at this stage on the show? I've had a lot of people here in the live say that Kyle is the biggest winner. Some people have said CT is the biggest winner. I don't think CT, it doesn't matter. CT would beat anyone. But, who is the biggest winner, I guess, outside of CT, who doesn't really, to him, it doesn't matter who goes home, I don't think.
Biggest winner as in the who's most likely to win like a daily? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I guess so. Politically, who does this benefit the most, and also physically and in a challenge capacity? Like, who do we think gains the most from losing? If I had to go first, while I give you guys an opportunity to think about it, I think one of the biggest winners from Fessy being out of the game at this point is Nelson, because I do think that Nelson and Fessy, there was this thing against them and between them that was at some point it was going to surface. It was under the surface, but they were going to have to come for each other at some point. And I know Fessy said that he wasn't going to come to Nelson. He wanted to prove his loyalty to Nelson. But I do think that at some point, Fessy is a man who looks after himself. I mean, if you can betray your best mate and you can send somebody down there that your best friend said you shouldn't send down there, Nelson is not his best friend. So, I mean, he at some point could have turned against Nelson again. I think the dirty work has been done for him. And I was quite surprised when Nelson afterwards went and said, like, listen, should we just throw Josh in now? We're just going to let him get away with this. Almost like he's upset for Fessy. It's very bizarre, but I don't know if he was just sort of playing up to it or just looking at throwing someone under the bus at that point so it just doesn't politically come onto him. But I think, Nelson is probably one of those people. Nelson doesn't have to go in a whole brawl against Fessy again this season, because I think Nelson can beat most people, but not Fessy.
So if you're looking, who has the best advantage of them since Fessy's gone home? I definitely think the people that were so excited by this fight. So, the fact that Corey was like, yeah, let's get it. Like Nelson, like, oh, fight. Let me go grab, Josh and bring him, make this thing happen and balloon up. I think that the people that were instigating were the people that had the most to gain. And so definitely Corey, Nelson, and even I think like Tori, for some weird reason, like she was really invested in getting involved in this. But I think that with having all this animosity and all that stuff, people stopped looking at her. Like she's not, well, she was hoping this anyways, but like I think that it didn't make her look good in the end. But I think that those three must have the most to gain, and that's why they were pushing so hard for something to happen.
Christina says that it's the viewers. We're the biggest winners.
We're the winners. Yes.
I'll argue I'll argue about all the players that you just said benefited from Fessy leaving. I think Nelson, it gets hurt the worst because that's his storyline. Everybody came into this game trying to see him get revenge on Fessy. Fessy leaves because of being physical with Josh, and now Nelson is, I don't know, he's up in the air. We're already not seeing him in the edit. And I think he is trying to put Josh under the bus because we do see, like, I think that the vets at this point, especially Devin, are taking notes on everything that's happening in the game. And if any vet does a transgression, they're going to write it down, and that's going to be put on the hierarchy for when all the rookies are gone. That's who we're going to go after first. So Kyle's on that list. I would say Tori and Corey are on that list now because they were instigating. I mean, they were brought up so much that they had to apologize in the deliberation. Apologize to Devin because Devin doesn't like them instigating the biggest instigator out of the whole challenge. Like, if it's me doing it, it's fine. But if it's against my friend or against me, no, you have to apologize. It's like, what world are we living in? And I think that's why Nelson was like, oh, Josh should be thrown in too, because, hey, that's one other person under me that stays up higher. I would say all the guys benefit from this. And I would even speculate to say Casey is the one that benefits the most. She doesn't have to babysit Fessy. She doesn't have to talk about Fessy's decisions or behaviors to anybody. She doesn't have to be having a leash to him, because it's not like she has to babysit Josh and Fessy. This is not going to happen again. Their fight's not going to happen again to where she has to get involved again. She can now just like go hang out with Nany, take a deep breath, and just play her own game. There is really no Big Brother alliance. Like, they'll play together and they'll work together, but Josh can go have Devin as his number one. Nany is going to be Casey's number one no matter what. I don't even care if Josh is in the game or not. Like, that's going to be hers. So I think Casey doesn't even have to worry about being picked by Fessy at the end to run the finals and then be constantly being like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. You got to run on these rocks. It's like, no, Casey can just chill out now. So I think Casey's the biggest winner.
I have two comments though. I do think though, with the fact that Fessy's gone and that drama's gone, that maybe Corey and Nelson will get some more screen time, and everybody might have a better opportunity of winning. Don't kill me. Might have an opportunity of winning, you know, one of these dailies. So I think they just like, they freed up. They're not gonna have to take that shot themselves. They're not gonna be the first ones that have to like turn on, and like if they get any sort of power and they have to take out Fessy, like they know they have to get rid of him. So it's like kind of like, all right, it's easy now. He's out of here. We get more screen time. We can start planning this game a little bit better because like we don't have these people dominating all the challenges as well as TV time. So I agree though with you. Everything you said as well.
And I think Love by You again just always agrees. I always agree with Love by You. I don't know why, but we're just in sync. You know, and she's saying that Devin is a really big winner.
Are you like Love by You like on another chat?
I feel like we just have like me and Love by You. You know, we're having like our own conversation, and then you two are having your own conversation here in the podcast. But you know, she brought up here that Devin probably, because Devin's value goes up, and I do agree that, you know, Devin wanting to work very closely with Josh, not having Josh's best friend in the game is a very good thing for Devin, where now he does become the best friend, the challenge best friend to Josh, and he probably becomes more valuable to that side of the house as well. I really like Devin's position in this game because he's gotten himself in a position where he really truly is in the middle of these two veteran alliances, the two different factions, and I think that that's going to really play into him doing potentially really well in the game. But I guess we've got to go back to CT here, guys. Like, why is CT still in the game? Like, you know, if he gets this deep into the game, are we looking at a back-to-back champion here? Like, do we get back-to-back vibes from CT? Because, I mean, this looks like a carbon copy of what he did last season, just being below the radar, not getting targeted. And, you know, if you don't get him out early in the game, you really, really run a risk, because we're bound to see a purge happening pretty soon, and we probably will lose like a bunch of people at some stage in the game, you know, because their schedule was behind because they had the COVID thing. They had to stop. They had to come back. They had a certain amount of time that they had to be out there. You know, logically, when you think about this, I don't think that they prolonged the time that they were going to shoot the show, and I think it's still the same time period. So how are they going to get rid of a whole bunch of people at the same time? I feel like there could potentially be a purge at some point that comes in. And before we know it, if CT survives that, he might be in a very strong position towards the end of the game where they only have 1 or 2 shots to take him out. And before you know it, CT's in the final, and CT does what he does best, you know, winning finals.
I'm here for it. Now, I'm wondering if he does win back-to-back, because if I'm not mistaken, I haven't seen him on the Aftermath yet. And I'm curious if it's because, you know, he might have a little smile on his face, like talking about it because he's won the game. It's easier to talk about the entire show when you don't win. So I don't know, just putting my tinfoil hat on there and speculating that he might be one of the only people that have not been on the Aftermath. And so maybe it's because he's a winner again.
he's so well rounded that you have to take shots early and often. Like, you can't be worried. You have to have numbers on your side, and you just have to be strong with them to be like, we got to send him in, because even if it's physical, he's gotten in better physical shape. If it's a puzzle, he's most likely going to win. I mean, Jay got lucky in that total madness where CT was kind of out of breath, and he thought he had it in the bag. He got overconfident and lost it. I mean, that's what you're going to have to do. But what was interesting to me when I was watching it is that he's in a vet alliance already. So he's not going to be gunned after by that front with every vet in the house. And then it seems like when Emmy was signing her name in the hot sauce, that wasn't like her signing into a vet alliance. I think that's signing into a subcategory of an alliance, because there were Kyle, Devin, Tori, and I believe Ed was in the room as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you have that 6 people, if you can keep your numbers tight, and then all of a sudden you're 6 strong in a 12-team game, you're looking pretty good. Like, you can do whatever you want. So I wonder if that was a tipping of the hat of a different alliance, to where now CT's in 2 alliances that's not going to gun after him, even though Devin is sitting there going like, Josh, you and me should be in the finals together because we could win against each other. But if you're aligned with CT, how are you going to, you said you didn't want to go up against him. Like, what is your plan here? You lost Fessy, you lost Kells. You can throw Ed in against CT? I don't know what's going on. Like, what's going to happen here?
And also, you've got to think about it this way. None of the females, none of the girls out there want to vote CT in. Everybody wants to be CT's partner going into the final, right? So half of the cast is not going to go against them necessarily here, unless it's maybe a Casey who will do it for Josh, or there's some real friendships involved here. I feel like most people will want to work with CT come the end, because they just want to win a championship no matter how they win it. I mean, you know, CT didn't carry Amber. Amber did really well in that previous one, but definitely it helped Amber a lot being partnered with CT going into that final. He's got the experience. He was good at the puzzle. She was good at the stamina and the running side of it. Who are we getting vibes from as a new or an old veteran female player that potentially could be someone that wins the season? Because to me, my spidey senses are going off around CT at the moment. I am starting to feel very strong that CT could go to the end here, because they haven't taken him out yet. And I mean, you've got to go for experience. I feel like with the women that are left in the game at the moment, it's a little bit harder, but someone that probably should be looked at as an Ashley, who still hasn't been taken out, has also got the experience of going to a final and winning, and potentially could still trade her partner in. I don't think she's going to run a final with Josh to take someone like a CT going into the final. And she's also seems to have a lot of political sway. And we've mentioned it here on the podcast before that she normally, if she goes early, she's out. But if she does make it past the halfway point in a game, she normally goes all the way to actually go and win it, or at least make a final. What do we think here? Who are the females left in the game at this point that you're getting very strong winner vibes from? I feel like it's a little bit of a tougher call.
I don't know if I'm getting winner vibes from anybody, but I'm wondering with that Sriracha pact, if Tori might be willing to let go of Ed when we get near the end and snag CT. And I could see her winning with CT. I do think that, you know, she worked pretty well with Jordan, and Jordan would be someone that told her what to do and tells her how to win and how to be good. And I think that if she's working well with CT, it might be like, hey, let me go with CT at the 11th hour here and let me try to snag this win. So I'm not really getting that vibe from her, but the fact that they're in an alliance together and, you know, hearing that she was making advances with Ed and he wasn't really reciprocating them because he had a girlfriend, maybe there's a falling out between them, or maybe he gets taken out by, you know, another person, like the agency, and he gets taken out, so she has no partner and she gets started with CT or something. Like something could happen. Anyways, I'm gonna say right now that Tori is going to run the final with CT. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Don't anger Drew here on the podcast. We don't want that, okay? But the first question here that we want to go into, guys, one of the questions here from the live is, which one of the vet males and females do we think will be up for eliminations first as soon as all of the rookies are picked off? And I know it's hard to be put on the spot and really think about the social dynamics. So I'm okay with being 80% wrong on these podcasts. It happened to me all season long in Survivor South Africa and Australian Survivor. So I'll continue to be wrong here. I don't have a problem with that. So I'll go into it first while you guys have a little bit of an opportunity to think about the dynamics in the game at this point. I do think, and I'm going to go against what Chantal has said here, and I think Tori is going to be one of the first vet females that are going to get targeted because of the fact that she's starting to ruffle some feathers. People are noticing her. I think that it's either going to be her or Casey taking a shot at each other, but I do think Casey is not going to forget what. Actually, no. Oh, because Amber is a vet, just by one season.
We don't need to count Amber. Amber.
Yeah, like if we don't count Amber. If we don't count Amber as a vet, then I'd say Tori for me is someone that's probably going to get targeted sooner rather than later. But if we do count Amber as a vet, she's just got too many daggers out already, and the story is telling us that a lot of people are not happy with her. Then I have to say Amber probably as a female would be the first person to go in. Now, as a vet guy at this point, you've got CT, Nelson, and Corey and Devin. I feel like they would work together unless Corey and Nelson did the right thing strategically and actually went after CT. I don't know if they will do that and if they've got the strategical mindset to do that at this point. I do think Josh is kind of in a little bit of danger.
They don't have the partners to win. Like, I don't know. I mean, yes. Priscilla, we haven't really seen what she's capable of, but Priscilla and Nelson haven't really been shown to do anything. And we know that Bettina and Corey haven't been able to do anything. So I just don't see them having the power to be able to make these big moves. And so, yeah, that's kind of why I think that, like, I could see CT and Emmy winning something, and he's not going to be throwing in Tori. And if the house throws in Tori, CT would throw in somebody that she could beat. So I don't know. I'm still just going to stand by it. Like, I don't really like Tori that much, and like I don't even want her to be at the finale. But I like having something kind of polarizing to discuss.
Yeah, while we're talking about the whole cast, we might as well look at our teams at the same time here. And you're right, they probably won't win anything here. I just don't know if both Nelson and Corey is even seen as a threat to win the final, to be honest. And with their partners that they've got at the moment, I don't know if they will throw them in there or not. It's a tough one. I don't know with the guys who would go. I know that Devin and Josh has been pretty close. That's been strong. Nelson and Corey hasn't had much of an edit this season. It's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, take a guess, roll of the dice. I would say Josh maybe is someone that's in danger without Fessy. Drew, what do you think?
Out of the women, I would say Amber because she's been thrown in before, and Big T they've set up that she is not.
That's true.
She's not well in the group.
Where was she this episode?
Nowhere to be seen. Just like 50% of the cast. I mean, it's been the Big Brother people for a long, long time. I think also it depends on who's being sent into the elimination as well, because if it's somebody who has a lot of friends, they're going to want to try to keep them and give them the best opportunity to stay. So if they throw in like a Big T who they think maybe could be someone that could be easily beat, for the guys, I would have to say that, gosh, I don't even remember the guys that are on this season. By George, I think actually Kyle would be the number one. I think we did see him getting dressed up to go into elimination at some point, and that whole thing with the sabotage was so overblown, but everybody was like all on it. So I think at the first chance they're going to throw him in.
Yeah, I mean, I can easily see that happening. I think it is anybody's guess at this point. Who's been the standout rookies for you guys so far this season? For me, if I had to go to a rookie and the males, I would have to go for my number 2 guy pick, Emmanuel, who I think has been playing a really strong and solid game. They've won the dailies now twice, I believe, at this point with Casey. I do get finalist vibes from Emmanuel. I feel like he's going to go deep in this game. I don't know if he'll win it, but I do think he's a strong competitor. He's good with the physical stuff. He seems pretty switched on mentally. Ed, like, just from a sheer fact, I feel like I've got the 2 best guy rookies here. Ed, I just love as a character, but I think he'll come back many seasons in the future. But I feel like Emmanuel is the dark horse here for the guys. If I look at the females and who's left in the game, obviously I have to remove Esther from my team. She's no longer in there, and I have to remove Fessy there from Chantal's team, no longer in Chantal's team. If I had to look at the females that are still left in the game, the rookies, It's a toss-up between Emmy and Berna, but I will go on Emmy at this stage just because of the fact that she's proven to go down there and get it done within the lair. She's doing a really good job. Who are you guys sort of most impressed with the rookies that are left in the game, and who do you think can go pretty deep here?
Well, I already talked about Emmy. I think that they're kind of creating a storyline for her, unless this is the top of it, and then she's gonna go out next.
Yeah.
Like this is like her climax here, and like this is like her best episode, and then like it's just gonna go downhill. Unless that's what they're setting us up for. I could see her going quite far. I don't know if I can see her running the final. I just don't think that any of the other women that are playing on this season are going to allow her to go to the end with CT. Like I just can't see that happening. But I do think that, yes, I agree with you. The fact that she's gone down 2 times and she's come out victorious in things that are completely different, like different type of challenges, it shows that she's pretty adaptable. She's willing to learn. She's able to switch it on and come out victorious. And she has a big personality, and I'm enjoying watching her. And so I feel like with the fact that they've highlighted her so much that she's probably a favorite of the producers and casting in general. So I think that she's going to come back for future seasons. And I love the fact that her and Emmanuel are such good friends. And we can see him in this episode, I believe he's a winner of Survivor. He was final 2, one of the 2. And that him convincing her like, hey, this is the best opportunity for you to go down here right now so you can come back and pick your partner so you can save both of us from going into the lair like pretty soon. Like, you have to do this. You have to go down. Like, so the fact that he convinced her to do that, even though she was thinking about it, she was hesitant. And I think that it was with his sway allowed her to go in and make that decision, which was ultimately better for his game too. So I would say Emmanuel and Emmy would be the standouts of the season. They're doing the most. That is not in a way that annoys me at all. Like, we've got Emmanuel having a little bit of a relationship with people, a little love story, but he's also really great at challenges. He seems to be good at strategy. He has a good connection with Emmy, and then Emmy has the connection with CT. So I would say that they're doing the best with making some inroads with these vets here, and I would love to see them both go very far.
And that storyline of Emmanuel and Tori, we haven't seen the conclusion to that yet. It hasn't come back yet, which tells me Emmanuel still has some legs within the show. I still want to see what's going to happen there, if it's actually going to happen on screen or if it's something that's happening after the season. But I mean, why show it within this show if it isn't going to, sort of amass to something within the show, I guess.
For my rookie standouts, I would definitely say Ed has impressed me coming in late into the game, and he seems to have integrated pretty well into the game. I mean, he's in this alliance. Yeah. It seems like he's in this alliance with CT, Devin, and we even see him seen in the deliberation where he's like, I think we should vote in Esther. Like, he started that, and then Devin was like, I concur with my pal Ed here. So it's very interesting to see how the dynamic he's been able to wield in this game for such a short time, especially with the rookies having such a big target on their back. Logan, I think, is really, really strong. I hate that there's been so many people who have been kept quiet. He had a great outing with Gabo, and I just think that he's gonna, once we start seeing more of the cast now that this big brother brouhaha is done, like, I think Logan could be good. I'm gonna pivot because we talked about Emmy so much. I'm gonna pivot over to Priscilla. I loved her on Love Island. I think she's slowly getting more camera time, and like Chris said, she is narrating. Like, we hear her in the preview for next episode saying, well, the Vet Alliance is still strong. So we're getting the little tidbits and exposition and everything through her when we could easily get it from anybody else, maybe even a vet. And we're getting more and more of Priscilla as the time goes on. And I'm hoping we can see more of her before she's sent into an elimination and possibly gone. I mean, it seems like everything is whittling down, and her and Bettina are the only 2 that haven't seen an elimination just yet. So I'm kind of nervous. I want to see more of her, but I don't want to see too much of her. And then all of a sudden that episode she's gone, and I'm like, no, we could have had more.
Now, you mentioned Ed there, and Ed obviously is from The Circle. Who do we want to see on the show next from The Circle, and why is it Chloe? Do you guys not watch The Circle that much?
I
I reckon
do
she would
watch
be
The
such a
Circle.
mess. She would be such a mess on the show. It'd be really funny. But I wonder if there's a few more people that the producers look at now because Ed's been so successful in making that transition over to the show. And one of the other things as well, it was a little bit of a throwaway question, so you guys don't have to answer it. The other thing here that was quite interesting as well is that Ed is going to be boxing Mr. Calafiori in a celebrity boxing match. So I think there's going to be a lot of people wanting to see Ed be victorious in that fight here during the off season as well. Now, guys, is there anything that we didn't discuss of this episode? I feel like we did get into quite a lot for a 40-minute episode.
There was no
and we probably touched on.
I was like, oh, that's it. We're done. We got everything.
I will throw out there, if we ever do a Bloodlines 2, we could bring in Mitch from the Circle as well. So
that's
Ed and
exactly
Mitch
what I was going to say.
a strong pairing.
I do watch.
I didn't watch the new 3 episodes of the US Circle yet, but I'm a huge K fan, so definitely would
message
love.
me after you watch them. It's definitely a great group of episodes.
I mean, even if they aren't exes, let's have Calvin and Kay on the challenge as a pairing. I just want to see more of them on my TV. Like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
For Bloodlines, I know people are going to hate me because as soon as you bring this person up, it's really 50-50. I would love to see the Calafiori brothers on a Bloodline season. I want to see Cody come in. I want to see Cody come in and play this game because I think Cody could do really well. Like, Cody is not his brother, but he might get dragged down with it. It's done. Nobody's ever going to want to talk to me about the challenge ever again. I've let it out.
I can't stand either of them. Like,
oh really?
They're the worst. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm on my own here on this one, but I would be here for it. I'd be like the one person each week tuning in to see Cody play the challenge, which I've heard a few times because I do follow his stuff as well. Like Cody is very different to Paulie in any case. Like if you sort of follow their stuff and how they sort of interact and who they are as people, it's actually quite funny seeing them talk sometimes online. But Cody has said he would never play the challenge. He's been asked to play the challenge before, but he would never do it unless Paulie is there as well. So it would be perfect for a Bloodline season. And he is a champion, a Big Brother champion. But I guess, there's a lot of Big Brother hate out there at the moment when it comes to the challenge realm. We don't need to put that out there in the universe, but just throwing it out there. Guys, it's been great having everybody here in the live stream today. And I think we've had a lot of fun talking about this latest episode of the challenge. Looking forward to catching up with all of you guys again next week at the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to talk about the next episode of the challenge. I do want to go around the table here because I do know all of you guys have got a lot going on in your own channels or your other channels as well. Drew, what's happening over on the Angel Cake channel and what have you been up to?
I'm going to be putting out the newest video is going to be the Survivor season 41 episode 1 review and recap that I'm doing. I'm doing something completely different. I'm not going to be a talking head. I am going to be doing something different with that. So if you want to check it out and see what I am going to produce and why it takes multiple days to do it instead of just the next day like everybody else does, tune in for that. I'm still working on the Kara evolution video. It's taking a long time, a very long time. I'm in the middle of doing a West documentary and a few other documentaries that I'm also putting out there. One for DM in November. I'm really looking forward to that one as well as newer videos, possibly in a different form that's not on Angel Cake, that I'm excited about, but it adds more and more to the plate that it just makes me like hyperventilate every like 2 hours. And then I have to calm myself down. And then I'm right back ready to go after I have a cookie and ready to edit more videos.
Chantal, you've got a lot going on at the moment. You're covering pretty much everything reality TV that's happening at the moment. What are you not covering?
I don't know what I'm not covering because I feel like I'm watching. Sometimes I'm watching things and then I'm like, oh, I should write that down. And I'm like, oh wait, no, I don't have to write that down. I get to just watch this. So I'm actually excited that there's gonna be shows that I'm not covering. Like Vanderpump Rules is coming back soon and Summer House. So those are shows that I won't be covering, I don't think, unless someone really begs me to. But next week is going to be a pretty busy week. So Monday, I think I'm doing something with Nerdtainment. Tuesday, I'll be doing Nerdtainment and Rob as a podcast for their final roundtable for Big Brother. Wednesday, my channel, like from basically 6 p.m. till like midnight Eastern, we'll be live watching something or talking about something. Thursday, we'll be doing the finale with Nerdtainment of The Circle. Friday, RHAP in the afternoon for The Circle. And Friday night, here back with you guys.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not alone. I do a lot. But, you know.
I'm happy I don't have your
subscribe and
schedule.
You'll know.
I will throw it out there that if you do have a Vanderpump conversation, I am available. So I'm just throwing that out there.
I mean, I need somebody that would want to be permanent. So if you would want to like be permanent, I would do Vanderpump Rules with you. Hilarious.
Yeah, so I guess keep an eye on Reality Pop. We're doing so much here on the channel at the moment. We are covering Survivor 41, the challenge, obviously, as well. And there's a whole bunch of Survivor Worldwide international off-season content sort of hitting the Reality Pop channel at the moment. I just did an interview with Anella from Survivor South Africa last night, which is available on the channel as well now. It was such a great conversation. We made some very bold predictions for a rugby game tonight, which a lot of you people wouldn't really follow, but I think that would be really fun to see if we were right or wrong in our predictions. We also have Chappie's on pretty soon. I'll be talking to him today. He was my favorite player from this last season, so really looking forward to that exit interview. And we're doing a retrospective on the whole Survivor South Africa tomorrow or late evening, depending on where you're at. So keep an eye out for that. There's a lot happening on this channel as well. Please be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, tell us what you liked about this specific recap. If you feel like there's anything we didn't cover, throw it in there in the comments. We do respond to everything when you put it on there, or we do have at least have a look at it. Sometimes we can't respond to everything, but we do have a look at it for sure. And it's been great talking to everybody, and we'll do this again next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.